Dr. Pandya and Dr. Eddie Epstein.
Okay, I'm no, yeah. Only 3 members. I'm 25th. Yeah. So the open session is closed. Then we go to closed session. Okay. Okay, so welcome to open session again. You're recording, yeah? There you go. All right, welcome to open session. We start with chief of staff report. We recommended action, no action on the chief of staff report, information only, and some quality review, peer review credentials. Need a vote to approve or disapprove the credentials and peer review.
Motion approved.
Second,
Second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 2, quality division update as presented. Need a motion for approval of quality.
Motion approved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Number 3, compliance report, also quarter 2, as presented earlier by Cindy. We need a motion to approve. That's a
Motion approved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the other items are not done, so we will come back after the session. So we'll go into public comment session next. Any public comments we have?
I'd like to get up and go on the other side of the table. With the public comment. My name is Kent Sorrell, and I reside in Springville. I'd like for us to congratulate Mr. Hudson, Dr. Hudson's here, for his mentioning in Beck's hospital review of one of the 66 head of the nurses that were outstanding. I don't know if you saw Beck's hospital review. Congratulate Mr.
Very good.
Dr. Jeff.
If no other comments, we'll go. I have no special reports. Hospital CEO report.
Yes, I have a few items under our strategic initiatives. I wanted to start off with our community support. A couple things under our community. I had the opportunity to speak at the Lions Club as well as the Rotary Club this last month. In regards to our community events, we've been partnered with the City of Porterville and Tulare County Board of Supervisors in regards to the vaccination roundup. This has had not only the obvious effect in our community, but it also has an indirect benefit to us as well that I'll highlight on. This is a partner presentation that was prepared by Alita, who is our manager of marketing and community relations, and as well as Sean Roberts, who is the manager of operations for Imperial Ambulance, who is actually very dedicated to this process, as well as this executive sponsor of this program is Dr. Hudson. And he's been the executive sponsor. Next slide, I just want to share with you that the incentive was actually an idea that was provided by the City of Porterville. So this is the City Council is the entity, the governing body that approves this initiative. This is not money that is coming from Sierra View. And these benefits that are being given to incentivize the vaccinations in our community is $100 that is being used for local businesses. So it's really adding to the local businesses. But we wanted to highlight here that we've had upwards of 14,000 vaccinations through this program, through this roundup. The next slide, this sort of shows you from the beginning of the first roundup into the latest one. This was through February 1st. It shows that we've had just a tremendous response from the community in regards to the last one being over 2,500 recipients of vaccinations, first dose, second dose, and boosters. And next slide. This is the businesses that have been supported. So once the individual receives their $100 coupon, They can use it at any one of these local businesses, which is tremendous impact for them as well. Again, just a thank you to the city of Porterville for using their ARA money. And then how do we compare? This is something that was provided by the Tulare County Health and Human Services. Porterville area is performing very well with first dose and full vaccinations. And in the next slide, you'll actually see that we actually are leading the county at 55% of individuals being vaccinated, with Visalia trailing at 52% and then Tulare at 49%. So very, very great initiative that has helped our community. And then the positive impact to Porterville, as you can see, 91% or full, of the total Tulare County population of the 446,000 lives are, that's just, and then the 9%. Okay, single dose. This slide represents the ethnicity. As you can see, the representation here of those that are seeking vaccinations through our clinic. So we're having a really good response in representing all ethnicities. And then this was a visit that we had from not only our mayor, the city mayor, as well as our county board of supervisor, Eddie Valero, who visited the clinic in this last month. So great support from them. And then next slide, this is just a snapshot. You can see that this was a slide off of Tulare County's website of those that are unvaccinated and the hospitalizations. Obviously is what the trend is showing. Most of our admitted patients that are needing hospitalization are unvaccinated. And then the last slide is just a congratulatory. This was the media exposure. We've all had an opportunity, myself as well as Dr. Hudson, to be interviewed by Channel 30. And so we've had Hopper in the morning, just lots of great response, 97.5. You can see a lot of media outreach in regards to this effort. And then last is just a special thank you. The thank you to not only the city, Tulare County Board Supervisor, City of Porterville Vaccination Outreach Team, as well as the Sierra View Medical Center team. And then we have Imperial Ambulance, Tulare County Health and Human Services volunteers from the Porterville College, and Sierra View volunteers, and countless community partners. So just a thank you on that. The last couple things I wanted to bring you up to date on is that we as a leadership team are currently working on our new colorectal surgery clinic that is going to reside across from the emergency department. So we have a project team that is working on the implementation. Melissa has already submitted the application to CDPH. So in the next 30 to 60 days, we should have that clinic up and going for Dr. Kwok. We also have new orthopedic surgeons that are seeking new office space in our community to reside here to see patients, and I'll keep you updated once they decide where they're going to be setting up their lease arrangement. A couple things on service line. Ron was able to update us on the MRI. So the MRI has had the footing poured over the weekend. We're still on track to have our new MRI installed and ready to be for use in June. So that's very exciting. And this is a foundation supported project so we did receive some money from them on this project. And then the urology clinic, we are currently working with the urology team in regards to expanding their footprint. We are actually working on trying to move non-directed clinical services into the adjacent building and keep our clinical services in the current setting. So that's a project that we're working on. And then a few things on workforce, staffing agency concerns. I wanted to share with you some legislative work that we've been talking about just the fiscal impacts to hospitals in regards to the cost of travelers. So 45% of California hospitals are operating at a negative margin. And I did want to share with you a letter that was supported by members of Congress writing to in regards to this matter, that we've all seen such a huge price tag on travelers and just wanted Congress to take a closer look at this. So I did have a copy of that letter that I'd like to share with you. And then last, you might have heard COVID leave, the state did approve for our employees to be eligible for COVID pay, retroed back to January 1st. So we are in the process of capturing those individuals. And then just some leadership changes. We are in the process of recruiting for a new director of a distinct part skilled nursing facility. And we will be in the process of recruiting for a new emergency service director. Shay is leaving us and actually moving to the cath lab into a clinical role. But we wanted to thank her so much for her services, especially through this pandemic. And then last, our succession planning program starts in March. So we have a new class of 2022. Something that's new to the succession planning program is that our participants are going to be participating in what they call LEAD Academy. And LEAD is a formalized outside class that's sponsored by California Hospital Association. And so we are supporting these individuals to go through a formal 12-week program. So that's something new that we're supporting. We have a lot of new leaders coming up, and we want to support them in their professional growth. So wanted to share that with you as well. That's all I have.
Donna, can you expand a little more on the urology services? How we going to expand? I didn't get that. What is clinical, non-clinical?
Yeah, so what we found in that clinic is that space is very, very limited, right? And as we have been unable to accommodate even the visitation because the waiting room is so small, what we found is we have a whole room dedicated to just office supplies. We have an authorization clerk and that's considered back office that is actually residing in the same space as 2 other employees. So it's very tight quarters. So what we looked at is bringing them out of that clinic space, putting them across the way, as well as the provider giving them a dedicated office that was in that adjacent space, as well as a break room. So this would serve as many things, actually enhancing the workplace environment for our staff and safety, but also gives more waiting room space for those so we can accommodate the distance needs. So that way.
How long you think it's going to suffice? Is it this temporary deal or is it the long term?
Well, it will free up a number of rooms that will give more space to see patients in. I think we added 3 additional rooms by doing this. So it almost doubled the clinic space. How long would that suffice? It just all depends on the number of providers that are going to be seeing patients in that clinic, right? Because the number of providers increase patient visits. But the volume is tremendous going through that clinic.
I don't know if I should, you see the 2 offices apparently by rule, even though they're in the same location, the way the permits was, urology clinic can only be this one, can't go into other building. But I think you're working on paperwork to make that a part of it or something, if you can do that. Make it into one unit instead of, it's registered as separate, but physically it's really one building. So they can,
Yeah.
If that can be done, I think that'll be easier.
Yeah, there's city requirements, there's
Yeah.
federal requirements, there's state, there's lots of different things. So we've been doing a lot of research
It's
since
kind
the
of
last
silly stuff,
meeting.
but actually,
Yeah, so that's just an update on what we've been working on since the last meeting.
And Dr. Bardwaj is okay with that?
Yes, I think right, I mean, it would like triple his office space, so that'd be nice.
I was actually surprised. I was strict about this address business, whatever the location.
Yeah, so I made an outreach call to an individual that works, has helped us with the grandfathering exemption that we struggled with when this law went into place. And we went back through all of those records, trying to figure out how, there's 3 items that really restrict us in this clinic is that under the grandfather clause. We can expand services as long as it's the same services in the same location. We can't relocate or we will lose that grandfathering clause. And there's one other issue. So we're working
But the
on.
location really the same because physically it's like yours, my office. I mean, like, oh, it's actually physically address is the same, right? Address still says the same. Suite is different.
Suite different.
different.
Yeah. So what I suggested is make this suite, that suite. Just the same suite.
It's already designated for ortho. What about the other orthopedists that are looking for job? That's not something that.
Suite A, suite B.
Yeah,
Make suite
they're
B.
already on to
Suite
some
B
other
has become a
things.
suite A. It's
Mhm.
swallowed. Make
Yeah.
It's
this,
already there, right? We already designated for orthopedics, right? Or-
Yeah, well, it was for primary, yeah.
so basically you make the suite A, swallow the suite B, becomes A. See, it's not a physically different
That
location.
takes. a lot of work.
The number of providers there, they exclusively are under the entrenchment of the USC.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, any provider, obviously it's under the license of the district, the clinic is. But the provider contract is with USC.
Exclusive.
But
Thank
as
you.
far as I understand, they have regularly additional providers coming regularly.
They do. Mhm.
So they needed the space and we're providing, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah.
I got it.
Mhm. With indirect services, we can definitely help offload some
Expand the-
space. Mhm,
So Clint did this thing.
mhm.
No,
And just the cost, supplies and equipment and things that take up a lot of space, right, So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks for clarification. So no further questions. We'll move on to financials. Doug, take the floor. It's yours now. sir.
All right, good afternoon. January, quickly, so our acute days were up 30%. Our length of stay was up 33%. That's something we can't live with for very long, 5.23 length of stay. Outpatient visits, we're back up above budget, so that's a good thing. On a year-to-date basis, again, average length of stay at 4.76, 23% over budget, which pretty much coincides with the acute days being over budget. Outpatient visits are pretty much a push right on budget. Revenues for the month, total patient revenue came in a little below what we expected at 53,550,000, so 917,000 below budget. Once you add in some supplemental funds, we had net patient revenue of 12,884, which is 1.4 million better than we had budgeted. Other operating revenue at 476, slightly below budget, so we had 13,361 total operating revenue, about 1.4 million better than we had budgeted. Here's where it gets interesting, the expenses for the month, salaries, wages, and benefits, below budget by 54,000, but we are also below on FTEs. So built into there that you can't really see clearly, but if you take it on a per FTE basis, we end up with an increase of about $500,000 plus in our salary, wage, and benefit expenses for the month, and that's the new salary and wage plan that went into effect. Pro fees were up for the month, again, contracted staffing. And other expenses were up for the month, 600 plus thousand. So we had a loss from operations of $1,895,000. Now part of that, 800 plus thousand, relates to state staffing, and so that comes in non-operating revenues. You'll see that below the line. Total non-operating revenues for the month, 2,080,000. Total non-operating revenue, we had 1,892,000. So we actually had a gain before we get down to the decrease in fair value of investments. Interest rates increasing in the month. We had $1,470,000 decrease in fair value. We had $1,473,000 decrease or loss for the month. Year-to-date basis, total patient revenues slightly above budget. Net patient revenue is 10% above budget. A lot of that has to do with case mix index, getting a little extra money from Medicare still related to COVID, those types of things. So better revenue rate, net revenue percentage. Other operating revenue, we're about shy of $1 million below budget. Total operating revenue, 91,461,000, so 7.2 above budget. Year to date, our expenses, salaries, wages, benefits, 2.1 below. Pro fees, 9.1 above, and that's all related to contracted staffing. Total operating expenses running 8.9 million above budget. So we have a loss from operations of 5,388,000, which is 1.7 million more than we anticipated at this time. Non-operating items, non-operating revenues, 9.5, 4.3 of that is from the state for the staffing that they've provided. We have total non-operating revenue of 8.4 million, 6.5 better than we had budgeted. So our increase in that position is 3,045,000 before we take the fair market value adjustment. So we're 4.8 ahead of where we expected in the budget before we take in the investment. And then just operating, compared this year to last year, we have a loss from operations of 5,388,000. Just a little bit better, 339,000 better than where we were last year at this time. Staffing costs, when we look at all the contract staffing, we're up about 7.5 million. Compared to last year, up 8.9 million. And again, this doesn't have the offset from the state for that. Provider pro fees were 273,000 below budget, 285,000 greater than last year. Impact of interest rates on our investments, we have 1,080,000 investment income, 322,000 less than a year ago, and over 1 million less than 2 years ago at the same time. And key ratios, again, days cash on hand has come down a little bit. So as our expenses go up, that average expense per day will pull down the days cash on hand. So we're at 407, still in a good position. Cash to debt, favorable. Operating margin and EBITDA margin, again, are weak at this point. Debt to capitalization looks good, and our debt service coverage is in good shape. Questions on January?
Thank you. That looks like just replay same thing.
Yeah, it's going to continue for a while.
So this legislation, we're talking about something they're going to discuss. I mean, they got notice, obviously, they noticed this. This is unsustainable.
Right, exactly, yeah. They never seen anything, this is unprecedented times,
And
never
It's
seen it.
it's simply unsustainable to any hospital.
Correct,
Everybody's going through it. Because we have some help, some hospitals don't.
that is very true.
Thanks. Thank you.
So what is your turkey bones forecast for the year?
Flip a coin. There's too many things going on. What's going to happen with the COVID volume? Once that volume declines, and so the demand for contracted staffing, if that decreases, will that start to lower the cost of that? We have some people that, while the contracted staffing was up at a higher level, they decided to go and become a contracted staff person. Will they go back to working at the hospitals and not chase those dollars if they're not available? There's all kinds of things that we'll see how they play
It's
out.
really going to unwind very slowly. It's not going to happen that fast.
No, it won't happen quick because the contracts have
Yeah.
3 to 6 month duration and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing we'll have probably a better feel for it, provided we don't have another spike, probably out there in August or September.
Yeah, the other thing is the investment loss on the paper. It's like paper number, but most importantly, when do our maturities come out? Next 2 years or?
No, we'll see that in a second. That's.
Oh, you have that coming?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have the next.
So I didn't know if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Approve the financials or just go right into investment or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, go ahead and do the investment.
Okay. So this is as of 12/31. Again, we follow our policies and the CDAC, the guidance they put out. Maximum maturity of our investments is 5 years. Our composition of the portfolio is mandated what we can and can't have, and we use our investment policy, which will come up again for your approval in May. As of 12/31, $1,759,000 in cash, 1% of the portfolio, about 29% in CDs. Corporate bonds, almost 24%, muni bonds, 11, US treasuries, about 14, and then some money market funds at 21%. And the only one where we're exceeding the maximum percentage is the money market funds. That's also because we're including our portfolio of which is funded depreciation, if you will, so longer term. Plus, we've also got some bond funds out there and then acquisition funds for the municipal lease. So the bond funds and the lease funds are going to get consumed here over the next couple of years. So we're not trying to take those out. So the money market fund situation will take care of itself. And here's the maturity schedule. So you can see only about 8% of it is coming up over the next year, 4% after that. It's back end loaded pretty heavily. And so that's something that I think our weighted average maturity is about 39 months. We were laddering everything, it'd be closer to 30 months. So we, as we go through this, we're gonna suffer a little bit. And approximately 8% is going to turn over in the next month. Our investment yield is about 1.17% at this point. Our budgeted investment income for the second quarter was $412,000. We had $468,000. And we will have be able to meet all of our expenditures in the next 6 months. As far as being in quantity with our investment policy. Questions on?
So most of these are short-term bonds, 2 to 5 years. That have,
Yeah. So we're limited. 0 to 5 is all we can have, and we have a lot of stuff that's out in the 3 to 5 years.
So the return rate of 1.17%.
Yeah.
We are actually losing money because of the inflation.
Oh, yeah. But to a greater extent now, but based on the requirements of the state, we've been losing money for the last 10 years, because even with low rates of inflation, because the Fed, by their actions, has taken interest rates so low that even a modest inflation is greater than investment.
Wouldn't that be better to take that money and build the tower near the emergency room, like facility master plan we have discussed? Is it not better to invest into the future like that, or no?
Not necessarily. It would only be better if you knew you're going to get a return on an investment. At this point, the environment we're in and the cost of construction, you wouldn't have a return on your investment.
I said that because, I see there is competition of access to the operating rooms. We have limited operating room capacity. So how much, from you said it will be, how much would it cost to build one operating room?
Well, we couldn't build just one, but I mean, it's
On an
probably, you're looking $1,200+ a square foot.
$1,200.
And who knows right now, because building materials are all,
Maybe more.
could be more.
Or it's because it's Oshpod.
Yep. OSHPD and the fact that we have to do all our bidding, so everything has to be, well, not bidding, because we're a public entity, it's going to be paid at prevailing wage and all that, which adds percentages. So, yeah.
well, definitely they're going to be about 5 interest rate rates up to 2.5% this next quarter.
Right.
So we need to approve these two first before we go to capital. Let's, can we have a motion to approve the financials? I think separately, or we can do together.
Separate.
Financials and the motion to approve financials. Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item B, investment report, and motion to approve.
Motion approved.
And all, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have a capital budget also to be presented. Item C.
Good afternoon. presenting second quarter report for capital projects. Okay, to start off, here's our budget breakdown. So first quarter, we had 1.8 million. Second quarter, 783,064. Third quarter, 635,922. Fourth quarter, 52,037. Combining first, second, third, and fourth at 3.3 million. Today I'll be going over second quarter, which is a 783,064. And finances on capital projects. Second quarter is displayed with an original budget of 783,064. 301,900 was approved. Out of the 783,064, and 4,192 has been dispersed out of the 301,900 so far. Here's a list of our capital projects that were approved in the second quarter. We have 6 projects active in process right now. This is a list of our carryover projects from the first quarter. We have 13. Disbursements by quarter. So in our first quarter, 13,443,000 was dispersed. Second quarter with 472,856. Combining first and second with a total of 486,300 out of the 3.3 million budget. Finances on contingency projects. Contingency approved projects. So we had an approved budget of 400,000. In first quarter, 222,760 was approved. Second quarter with 113,642, combining first and second with a total of 336,402 out of the 400,000 contingency budget. And here's a list of our contingency projects that were approved in our second quarter. This is a list of the carryover projects from our first quarter. And contingency disbursements and first and second quarter. First quarter with 41,526. Second quarter with 221,888. Combining first and second with a total of 253,414. Dispersed out of the 400,000 contingency budget. Any questions? Thank you.
In a motion to approve or approve the capital budget?
A motion.
Second? Second. In favor? Aye. Thank you. Go on to business information item, public records request. We have a few here. It was January 19, 2022, request a non-designated public hospital bridge loan program.
Yeah, so this was an initiative where the board passed a resolution. This was requested by Family Healthcare Network Legal Counsel. Next item on January 20th was a request for the copy of the district map by a private citizen, Mr. Edcock. And the last item on January 25th was a copy of the anonymous public comment that was read in December by Director Pandya, and that's it.
Announcements, we have board self-evaluation are due by March 7th. I've done mine completed here. So we need to have them returned to by March 7th. And then we have next meeting will be March actually 29th, the typo there, Tuesday. So we will, other form 700 is also due by April. So that's every year. Yeah. Just have a copy unless there's a change. So with that, no further discussion, we'll adjourn this meeting.
I don't think we're adjourning yet. We still have to go back into close.
Yeah, oh yeah, we actually have one more session.
Adjourn.
So we'll adjourn, open session is now closed. And we're going to take a 5-minute break and come back for the next session. Closed session. Yeah.
Possible. to do item D. So Dr. Sandu can leave. Because everybody else is. Would that
And then
be-
they Action left.
Right.
Okay. So we are back on to open session from closed session items, a few of them. We have item C, which is information only. Item D is one that requires board action. I'm making a motion on item D, where am I? Right here. Item D, to withdraw the initiation after discussion with this is where the motion came, withdraw the initiation of a joint conference committee meeting based on report of chief of staff. I'm making a motion. I think Dr. Pandya has to recuse on that one.
I'll second it.
Opposed? Anybody opposed?
Yes, I am.
All in favor? Three in favor, one opposed. Dr. Service opposed. The motion does pass. And next we go to item E and which is information only. And then that's why it's there.
Yeah, item F was information only as well.
Item F was information only in the agenda. And board self-evaluation we talked about, and then those forms. The next meeting will be March 29, 4:30 p.m. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Meeting is adjourned at 7:05. This is good.